What if more leads and your chase for more leads is actually what's holding your business back? If you're only focused on a lead, then you're focused on a transaction and not a relationship. And that's a recipe for disaster. Welcome to the Unbridled Creative, where courage meets calling. If you've ever felt that tug in your heart, that whisper that says there's more, but you're stuck in fear, burnout, or maybe just a version of success that doesn't feel like freedom, then this podcast is for you.
And we're here to inspire, equip, and empower you to build your business with faith, not fear, and to remind you that your calling is worth chasing.
So let's do this. Well, Trent, today we're kicking off a 4-part series following the episode we did called How Marketing Works. These are going to be short mini episodes that allow our listeners to jump in and get what we're calling a creative spark, which is a spark for their courage or a spark for their calling. But this is meant to be kind of just quick inspiration. So let's dive in. Today, we're talking about why more leads is the wrong first goal. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about something that almost every business owner says, I need more leads. But what if that's actually the thing that's holding your business back? Let's think about that for a second. What if more leads and your chase for more leads is actually what's holding your business back? Let's start by stepping into the world of the business owner. Every conversation we have with the business owner comes back to leads. They want more leads. They think that that's the key to their growth. But here's the challenge. What we've seen over and over again is that people chasing leads usually end up getting more frustrated. Why is that?
Well, you think about the question we ask ourselves, I want more leads. Really, we have to dig in deeper into that, right? What kind of lead? Who is it we're trying to reach? And sometimes all the time, if we don't know who we are and who we want to really work with, then that question is too broad, because if we find ourselves wanting to work with anyone and everyone, we'll work with no one.
Well, and you said on the last podcast, we talked about how marketing works. You talked about that Olympian that hit the target. And then the guy said, I'm sorry, you didn't win gold because you hit the wrong target. Yeah. So I think that's a message that we want people to hear right now, is that just chasing leads for the sake of chasing leads means you could be on a rabbit trail. You could be down a rabbit trail, on a hamster wheel.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like all of those analogies, climbing the wrong ladder, hitting the wrong target, because the wrong lead will actually keep you busy and distracted and not able to take care of the real customers that you do want to be doing business with. So let's just remember that when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. You might not realize it.
Yes.
But if you're saying yes to more leads, you're probably saying no to an ideal client.
Yes.
Right? So let's start by first getting clear about who's our ideal client before we start chasing more leads.
Yeah. Hey, Laura, let me ask you, what are the multiple things that people do that they feel like aren't working, or there's several months into it and they're like, wow, I've got thousands of leads now. Now what do I do?
Well, and these are some of the things that I've seen that don't work. One is buying leads lists, right? Buying leads lists. You don't even know if those things are vetted. You don't know if they're verified. You don't know if they're in a buying cycle. You don't know how old that stuff is.
Yeah.
I've also seen people just running ads in kind of a spray and pray fashion, where they're just putting it out there and hoping someone's going to care about it. That can mean you're not running the ad based on their buying cycle. You're just running the ad to try to make noise and get noticed. And that's a huge mistake. And there's a lot of waste in that. I also see businesses doing cold outreach. I actually was just talking with a friend who she said, oh, AI will now go scrape the web and get buyers' names and email addresses, and you can send them these cold emails. I'm like, yeah, I get those every day, all day long. And I mark every single one of them as spam. I won't even read it. Even if it's someone I want to do business with, I won't read it.
They're always wanting something.
It's a solicitation. It's not a connection. It's a solicitation, and cold outreach is very off-putting to most people. Another thing is just getting ghosted or ignored. When you're out there chasing stuff that isn't relevant, you're going to either feel ghosted or you're going to be kind of ghosting your people, and you're going to attract the wrong people. We've talked about this in past podcasts. If you're not intentional about your ideal client, the person that you love to do business with, that pays you well and appreciates who you are, and you're just relying on word of mouth for new customers to come in, you might actually be getting the wrong kind of customers, people that you really don't want to be doing business with because you're not being intentional and proactive about your marketing and your advertising. You're just abdicating that responsibility to your current clients to bring you potentially a referral, but it might not be an ideal client. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think we actually talked about that in the intro episode of our Sparks, because to be targeted and controlled to have more control of who you're trying to bring in, just abdicating, that's the word, right? Abdicating.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got to
abdicating.
pronounce it
Yep.
right. So you don't have to be a
Yep.
genius to be on a podcast. Just abdicating the results to your clients. What if the client that's referring you to everybody isn't the right client and their friend group's not your friend group? Or the,
That's right. That's right. And now, I mean, now you could say, well, I'm getting more leads,
Mhm.
but I'm actually getting bad
Yeah,
leads, which is going to get me bad results. And that's going to leave you feeling kind of burned, kind of confused, and, wondering if marketing even works. So let's talk about the truth. Leads are not where marketing starts. In the kickoff of this series, How Marketing Works, we talked about how marketing's at the top of the funnel. Well, leads are at the very bottom of the funnel. So if our only goal is leads, we've completely forgotten about awareness, interest, desire, action. Think of a funnel, like you're going to pour a beer into a funnel. And at the top is awareness. This is that wink at the coffee shop thing. Desire is that curiosity to know more. And then interest is when they've said, yeah, I really like this. Like, let's have a real conversation. And then action is when they're going to actually make some sort of a purchase. So there's a process of moving someone through a sales funnel. It's also called a buyer's journey. So let's just remember, if you're a business owner and you're thinking, well, I just need to run some ads and get some brand awareness, and that's going to bring me new customers, you're completely forgetting the buyer's journey. You're completely forgetting the time it takes to move someone from awareness to interest, into desire, and into action. And keep in mind, not everyone's going to make it through the funnel. It is not going to be 100%. You got to keep putting people in that funnel because only a percentage. It's almost like if you invite people to an event, we've all heard, if you want like 25 people at your event, you need to invite 100 so that 50 say they'll come, so that 25 will actually
that's
show.
true.
It's just how it works.
Yes. And nowadays they'll RSVP like 2 days before the event,
Right.
or they don't know what RSVP means. It's French
Right.
anyway.
Right.
That means you let them know if you're coming or not. People don't understand that now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want people to understand that, lead capture is a marketing strategy at the bottom of the funnel. It is a byproduct of a great marketing strategy, but it does not stand on its own. It is inside of a bigger context. And what we talked about in the kickoff is that marketing is visibility plus readiness, right? So that really honors we're being noticed, but they're also ready to buy. So the more that we can do a good job making sure that the visibility that we're trying to generate matches with their readiness to buy, the better we're doing to shorten that time it takes to move through the funnel, through the buyer's
Yeah.
journey.
What are you always talk about when you're speaking about the 5 M's?
Four
Four
M's,
M's.
four
There we go.
M's.
I don't want to
Yes.
overdo it.
The market, the medium, the message, and the moment. So think about it as four pieces of a puzzle. And I'm going to say it again for anybody that wants to write this
Yeah.
down, take
This is
notes.
important.
Yeah. The market, the medium, the message, and the moment. The market is like, where am I doing business? And a lot of people want to do it in their city, in their neighborhood, in their hometown, in their county, in their metro, right? The market is the geography. Where am I doing business? The market, the medium is the second one. The medium is how am I choosing to reach them? Is it print? Is it digital? Is it both? Am I partnering with a local influencer? How am I working to reach my audience in this market? So we talked about market, medium. The message is extremely important because if you aren't communicating something in your marketing and your advertising and in your social media that's not resonating with your client, it doesn't matter how targeted you are, doesn't matter how timely you are, it will not resonate because it's not resonating with them. So a big shift right there in the messaging is that it's not about you, it's about them. It's about making sure that you're letting them know, I understand you. I understand your problem and I have something to help you solve that problem so you can have great success with your life and your business. So the market, the medium, the message, and then the last one is the moment. This is honoring what we talked about earlier, the point in the funnel, the point in the buyer's journey where they are ready to make a decision. If you are in an industry that has like a high consideration purchase, think kitchen remodel, pool builder, home build, like anything that's going to take a lot of time, a lot of thought, a lot of planning, a lot of preparation, maybe a home equity loan, maybe a permit from the city. That's a high consideration purchase. It's going to take you a long time to go from awareness through interest and desire and action because you're in a high consideration purchase. There's a lot at stake. If you're in a low consideration purchase, like you're buying a toothbrush or some shampoo or toothpaste or shoes or even furniture, like something that doesn't require so much thought and time and saving of money, like you're going to have a lot lower time between awareness and action. So when people say to me, what am I going to get out of this? What am I going to get out of my marketing? What am I going to get out of this investment? I'm going to say, well, are you in a high consideration purchase? Are you in a low consideration purchase? Because the timing of when your buyer is ready to buy is so important. So that
Yeah.
gives you a broad overview of kind of how media buying works and like what we're looking at as professional media buyers when it comes to getting an ad in front of your ideal client at the right time and at the right place and in the right moment.
And you're speaking from expertise because this is your background. You have an MBA.
Yeah.
You were the marketing director before you owned your own company. You were the marketing director. You were making all those decisions and spending a
Yeah. I
lot of
mean,
money doing it.
yes, I mean, I'll tell you that coming at the height of my career in corporate America, I was managing a $2 million media budget. And when you've got $2 million, you're everywhere and people know it. And they see you on the radio, they see you on TV, they see you online, they see you in the newspaper, they see you in magazines, they see you on trucks and billboards and t-shirts and hats, and they see you and then they call on you. So I was called on by everyone in town and I had to learn how to buy media well because you can't just throw money out there and hope. Hope is not a marketing strategy. And spraying and praying your advertising message is, well, I guess you can call it a strategy. It's called spray and pray.
That's true. It is a
Maybe
strategy.
it's a strategy, but it's not a wise strategy. It is a
Especially,
strategy full of
yeah, and
waste.
especially for a new business, because a new business, they have to be very, very strategic in everything that they do because they don't have those extra dollars to spend yet. You have the extra dollars. And by the way, from a marketing standpoint, advertising standpoint, you have to have a budget. I can't tell you how many times I have spoken to business owners who haven't even considered a budget. Used to be in the sign business many years ago, and they would forget to budget for their sign. And being a retail establishment, I'm thinking, why did you not put that in your plan? That's one of the most important things if you're a retail establishment, so people can actually find you and know where they're walking into.
Well, that's right. I mean, we've all heard from that movie, If You Build It, They Will Come. Well, and a lot of business owners think, well, I'm going to open this business and they'll just come. Well, they need to know you're there
Yeah.
and the sign kind of helps, but for the majority of America that is not going to drive by your sign with their car, you actually need to find other ways to get in front of
Yeah.
them. So, I just want to remind everybody how important it is to make this process of lead gen human. We talked in the opener of this series about how you're not going to walk into a coffee shop, make eye contact with someone, and get down on your knee and ask them to marry you. It's just not how it works, right?
You'd run.
So it's the same thing with chasing leads. We have to know that marketing's working at the top of the funnel. Our job up here is to make sure that people know you, like you, trust you, see you as a trusted local resource and not a solicitor. And you have to know that that's the beginning of a relationship. If you're only focused on a lead, then you're focused on a transaction and not a relationship. And that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. That's a very good point. The difference between a transactional mindset and a relational mindset. And if you find yourself in a transactional mindset for whatever reason, where you're expecting people to buy right away and not think about serving them first, then you're not in a good place, because eventually it may
Yeah.
work for a time, for a short time, but eventually people are not going to trust you anymore. You're going to burn out your market. We've often said the example of being a hunter versus being a gardener versus a hunter. There's times you got to hunt, but being a gardener, that's something you have to prepare for, and you have to plant seeds. And how do you plant seeds? You have to give and serve to those seeds that you plant, because you don't know what's going to come out of that. That could be your next one of those could be your next crop that produces the rest of your crop. So, you could use that, think about that analogy all day long, but it's so important to serve people and to think of that mindset first.
Such a great analogy for marketing. And I often teach people when you're marketing, especially if you're in desperate need of new clients, like let's say you've just opened your doors and you're like, I don't have a business if I don't have any clients, is you're going to want to be doing this balance between hunting and farming. Hunting is this: I need customers today. I need customers this week. Well, go to some networking events, visit a BNI group, show up at the chamber, have a ribbon cutting, like start to show up and be human, start to become known, start to become trusted, start to get connected to the right people, but also be doing something that's farming for future customers, because you can't physically shake hands with everyone in town. So you've got to leverage a piece of your budget to get your brand out in the community, to let people know who you are, what you do, the problem you solve, what makes you special, to be planting seeds for future business. And just like a farm, you're not going to plant that seed and then say, well, I didn't get any fruit. I planted my seeds yesterday. I planted my seeds last week. Like planting seeds takes time, and we can't see what's happening under the soil, but we do know that that farm needs to be nurtured. It needs to be given time. It needs to be given sunlight. It needs to be given water. It needs to be protected from bugs and weeds. And we need to give it a chance to root and sprout and bear fruit. And if we do our job and we take care of that soil and we tend to it and we don't give up, I know we're going to dive into the timing on marketing, but I mean, if we tend to our crops and we stay true to the analogy of these are our future customers, and you're not going to give up on your future ideal customers. You're going to be there when they're ready, because you don't know when they're going to be ready.
So true. Well, this is the beginning of several different sparks, and
Yes.
this one here, and the reason why too is when we listen. Like, for example, you mentioned going to networking events. I think it's so important when we go to networking events to go there for the purpose of listening to people, to hear what their pains are, to hear what their challenges are, hear what their customers' challenges are, because having an outside view for them, you could actually give them a piece of advice and they can actually help you as well. And it's not because you're there to sell them something and to get something from them. It's so that you can network with them and to see how you can serve them in some way. I had a lunch with a friend who's a business owner, commercial business, and yesterday, the whole time I'm thinking, who can I connect him with? And I thought of
Right.
another client of mine, and I thought,
Right.
I got a person that's would be perfect for you to connect, because you're very similar in personality. You have the same heart. You're charity givers. Just I think you two would go great together. And you're in a completely different market, but they're related.
That's right. I actually do some coaching, and I've said to my mentees, your job is not to show up and sell. Your job is to show up and listen for the problem and then try to solve that, whether that includes buying what you have to sell or not. If you can go in there and solve their problem, and you've told stories, Trent, like you told the story about in your Get to Know Trent episode about how you went in thinking you were going to maybe sell an ad and she just needed prayer with you, right? People could go back and listen to the Trent episode to get that full story. But if you're just showing up to serve and you're showing up to help and you're showing up to solve the problem in front of you, even if it's simple as an introduction to someone else that you know in your network, then you're putting out like good vibes into the world, and that will come back to you. Just be thinking, I guess if we can leave one takeaway from this episode, it's to be thinking about building relationships and building trust and not trying to grab a transaction. There's a lot of people out there that are focused on leads and lead conversion and solicitation and cost per lead. I think you and I are from the school of relationships
Yes.
and trust and introductions and honoring the time it takes for people to build a relationships. We invite you to let go of that chase for leads and remember that we are humans and that we want connections and we want
And
trust.
here's 3 questions I'll leave you with. And this is an alignment questions for you. Number 1 is, who are you? Who are you as a business owner? Who are the unbridled creative that you are? And who are you called to serve? And then how do you show up in a way that builds trust with them? And it makes you, not that the goal is this, but it makes you remarkable, where they want to remark about you. They have something good to remark about you because you helped them and served them first. That's where trust begins.
I love that. Well, it's a great moment to end the show. So we'll remind you to be bold, break free,
and live unbridled.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us on the Unbridled Creative,
where we believe your story matters, your voice has power, and your dreams were planted on purpose.
And if something sparked in you today, don't let it fade. Take a step, trust the nudge, build the thing.
And if this episode encouraged you, we'd be so grateful if you'd help us spread the message.
And if you haven't already, hit subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Share it with a friend who's ready to build with heart, not hype.
And leave us a review. It helps more bold believers find their way here.
Wherever you are in your journey, we hope this show helps spark your hope, fuel your fire, and strengthen your faith in what's possible.
We're cheering you on, praying for you, and showing up every week to help you keep going. So, be bold, break free, and live unbridled.